filming this for the day. So as you know, this is a third year module that's part of the degree on the Bachelor in Business Management, and this is responsible leadership. So as you know, we're trying to learn the tools and techniques to identify social issues and sort of apply our minds to coming up with solutions, possible solutions, working with the community. So hence why we bring you here today to have a live experience and connection with the community with its own problems and challenges, right? So what will happen today, therefore, is for us to hear about your social issues, topic areas that Antoinette has already given us short descriptions of. And we'll just go around and talk about them, and then students will also ask questions to go a little bit deeper. But so thank you very much for today. So warm welcome, and then Antoinette will now introduce you guys, the focus group or the panel, and we'll get started. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Alex. Okay, on my side also, welcome to the community. So they have an NPO, right? I'm not still registered as an NPO. So they call it Eersterust Community Development Forum, which is basically a group of residents in the community of Eersterust who've decided they want to tackle some of the social issues in their community. Okay, so it's very nice to collaborate with you, because this is exactly the type of partner we want. We want to expose students to kind of the real world circumstances. Once we leave campus one day, then you're exposed to the real world, right? And then all the theory you've learned here in class, you need to apply somehow. And what we often see is people have very good ideas here in class, in laboratories, in other scientific communities, but then it doesn't hold up in the real world. So we want to challenge you in this module to even think simpler, but to think of realistic, appropriate, what I mean with appropriate solutions that fit a community. So thank you very much for your time. The idea of this panel discussion is that we get a better idea of what happens in Eersterust. And so we deliberately asked everyone, so we see we have a big group today, of all the themes to come and talk to all the students, because there's a kind of always a crossover between themes. Right? What's important for youth might also pop up in transport. What's important for transport might also pop up in social development. And so it's important to get a holistic view of the themes. So we're going to start, you're welcome to my suggestion. I'm just going to ask the panelists to just give me their name, and to introduce you to the class, to say exactly what theme are you currently championing in this development forum.
Okay, good morning everybody. My name is Colin Lawrence. The theme I'm championing is arts and culture, drama, theatre, creative industries.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Arnold Adams. I am the coordinator of Eersterust Community Development Forum. I basically coordinate out of all the portfolios that we currently have. I don't know, I would like to at some point just give a brief overview of just quick background, 2 minutes, if afforded, just to give them some scope.
Let's do the introductions, and then Arnold gives us an overview, and then we'll start with questions.
I'm Sarah Skady. I am the manager of a Circle of Life HIV, people living with HIV and AIDS. But in this forum, I'm also part of the health sector. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Don van der Westen. I'm championing the education portfolio.
Good morning, my name is Nolan Leitz, and I'm championing the social development section.
Good morning.
And I'll also be standing in for the sport.
Good morning, my name is Eersterust and I'm championing the environmental department.
Good morning, my name is Jan Malon. I'm the facilitator and making sure that we follow the correct processes to get an IMSD, Internal Municipal Service District, going in Eersterust, hopefully the first in the world.
Good morning, my name is Henry Godfrey. I'm working in the Community Safety Police Forum.
Good morning everyone, my name is Angelo Forte and I represent the youth, its office.
Okay, thanks. I want to give us a quick overview of community service.
Okay, you all are aware of the Hatfield CID, City Improvement District, which is basically the model that we're trying to replicate in Eersterust, which is basically an internal, in a residential area, it's an internal municipal service district, right? So we then would be able to sign a service level agreement with the City of Tshwane, which we already, we've got a memorandum of agreement, MOA, with the city in the form of the Ward 43 Community Upliftment Precinct. So we've got permission from the city to do various things, beautification, safety, we can fix potholes and the likes, right? So we've got 14 development portfolios, right, which Antoinette and them have selected the seven themes. So out of each theme, we've got then stakeholders which form part of the team, part of the theme. So for example, health, we will have the Eersterust Clinic, we will have some of the old age homes, some of the specialized care facilities, drug rehabilitation entities and NGOs working in that space. Our community safety, for example, would have the CPF, it will have SAPS, it will have some of the stakeholders working in community safety in Eersterust. So for us, it's basically, you know, the timing couldn't have been more perfect because we now in a partnership with UP where we can then holistically look at development in UP, in Eersterust. It has never been done before. So why I'm saying that this couldn't have come at a better place, a better time, is that you now have the opportunity to have a look at that portfolio. What is the challenges in the portfolio, and then basically come up with solutions that we can maybe take forward in improving our community. Thank you.
Okay, Arnold, let me check. You're standing in for transport.
I'm road and transport.
Okay, let's start with transport. So, let me just check who raised their hands have seen the 7 themes. You have to already think about what theme you want to go into. Who's seen the video? You know, more or less how it. Okay, great. I think so. You're not totally blind to the most of you. Arnold, if you can give us just an overview of transport, specifically transport to Eersterust. Like, what does transport mean in Eersterust? What's unique about transport in Eersterust? What's maybe a few things you can highlight that's different in Eersterust regarding transport than other areas?
So in Eersterust, you know, very unique in Eersterust is we've got tuk-tuks in Eersterust. So it is a motorbike type of vehicle that can transport up to 3 people in the vehicle. So they provide an essential service in Eersterust, which is door-to-door transportation at a cost of 15 Rand. So he can take you from point A to point B. The challenge there is that most of the drivers are supposed to be in school currently, and they now basically how can I say, they drop out of school for the possibility of earning income. So there in itself is a socio-economic situation where the household doesn't have enough money for the kid to go to school. You would find that he stays with his grandmother. He drops out of school in grade 9, right? Because of he needs an income, an immediate income. He then basically, at some point, impregnates his girlfriend. She now also has to drop out of school. And that is now the situation that we have, right? So they're staying with the grandmother. The grandmother, you know, has got a SASSA grant for the kids in the house. What happens a lot of times is that she doesn't even get to use the money because she would send somebody to go get the money. They don't come home, type of issue. However, a challenge with them is they're not regulated. Some of the kids that are driving currently don't have a license, a valid license. And there's a whole lot of backlash in terms of that when that car is involved in an accident, the road accident fund also has an issue to basically pay out. So we've got a taxi association. We've got taxis in Eersterust that will go the longer routes to mainland, to town, or whatever the case might be. But the tuk-tuks are for local in Eersterust only.
So the taxis and the tuk-tuks are under the same association?
No, two different. There's a tuk-tuk association and there's a taxi association.
Maybe we can just go to Angelo, because I think it touches on the youth and education theme quite a bit. If you maybe want to give some context of the youth in Eersterust, so I'm not already mentioning some of the issues, but what are you doing in Eersterust? What's if you look at youth and education, the main points?
Okay, so one of our biggest problems that we are currently facing is employment opportunities and also education opportunities. Some of them have financial issues whereby, as Arnold mentioned, you would find that they won't even go to school because there's a solution in the tuk-tuk.
Speak closer.
And also, the problems that we are facing currently is drug abuse, which is substance abuse, obviously, and then also overcrowded families within the Eersterust area. Remember, the infrastructure was built for a certain amount of people, and as we've moved on 10 years, there's more people within the space of Eersterust, the area space of Eersterust. And yes, we are actually looking out for opportunities for employment, education systems, workshops, business workshops, forums, charity events, in order for us to look out for the youth. I don't know if there's anything else that I need to add additionally.
Jan, if you want to add something?
Just on the transport, something I want to add is these tuk-tuk drivers don't have licenses. That's a big challenge. And the other thing I see is that there's basically, because they don't have a license, they don't understand the rules of the road. So if you come there, it's quite interesting to see the phenomena of people just driving around without any understanding of a stop street, how to transport people, how to offload and unload people. The other thing that, just on the transport situation, because we're focusing on that, is if you take Soutpansberg out of town, Stormvloer, and the two intersections where there should be robot intersections, the robots are stolen. So this transports into the bigger picture, and if you nowadays go and have a look what's happening in our city here in Pretoria, that same phenomena just passes over. Nobody stops at the stop street. Nobody stops at a robot. It might be part of what we experienced in COVID, it might be part of criminality, I don't know. But I think one of the challenges is how do you bring back law and order in a lawless environment?
Okay, I think that's a good reason to go to community safety. So community safety is maybe always the last thing we talk about because it underlines all other initiatives. But since we came up with the topic, can you just maybe tell us, community safety-wise, what's happening here for this?
Right, what we find in Ward 43, and guys, we're talking Eersterust, but we are actually trying to tackle one ward of the 107 wards as a unit. Because if we can get it right in one ward, and we can expand it, we can
So
not only take it to...
So we really focus on the problem.
I will focus on
that. Solutions.
Then if we can focus on one ward, then we can challenge the other wards. Now, what I find from a safety and security point of view, number one is the CPF, the Community Police Forum, is struggling themselves to pieces to make an input because the police station in Ward 43, and we are lucky that they are the police station, they've got 4 vehicles, 4 police vehicles, but they only have personnel for 1 vehicle. So what you find, instead of the 4 vehicles on the road, there's only 1 vehicle that has to attend to everything. Then what I see is they've got these big meetings there that they organize themselves, and there's very little law and order happening there. The other thing is the CPF struggling with that whole ward of 7,500 residential units. There's 6 schools. There's 7,500 children at school in one ward. He's struggling to maintain the law and order. What you also find is people dumping everywhere. You follow the streets, you'll just see the rubbish lying everywhere. If people don't want to take it to the official dumpings at Mamelodi. So this sense of just chucking everything around translates into basically lawlessness. The other thing is at night, there's very little street lights working. You would expect these high masts to work, to give proper lighting, very little of that. When one of the dignitaries come and visit, then they quickly repair some of the main roads there to the civic, and then after a while it doesn't get repaired. So you find it's quite dark in the whole of the area. And there's a lot of parks, there is no light.
Maybe we can just mention specifically what crimes are dominant in Eersterust. You mentioned dumping, and I want to talk to Eddie about the environmental following next, but how is the crimes in Eersterust different, for instance, from Hatfield, from Castle Bay, from wherever, Noord or wherever?
I think it's more contact crime. What we find there is more contact crime. Interpersonal challenges, obviously with the drugs going, there's a lot of that. Definitely more than in the other areas. And what we also find is that in town, if vehicles get stolen or stuff gets stolen, you often hear, no, it's going to Eersterust. So we believe that some of the criminal gangs are operating from there, and they're not being taken out of the area. Then there's definitely Uber hijackings, where the Uber drivers, and even the Uber drivers are kidnapped, if I'm right, right? That also happens.
Yeah. And then the infrastructure's theft.
Oh, yeah, you should go and have a look at the sport facilities, the cricket facilities, and all the other facilities non-existent. That has all been stolen. You talk about beautiful facilities of indoor cricket. The indoor cricket stadium you can't play. There's nothing left of it. They had outside facilities where they could do community sports, netball, all of those, tennis. There's nothing left of that.
To go to, sorry, it's on sports again. I'm losing my face.
Yeah, you can.
If you can maybe just say, how did the sports facilities change over the last, let's say, 10 to 20 years? So, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been to one of the cricket stadiums in Eersterust, or I was as a kid, but I think I'm a bit older than you guys. How has it changed, especially since COVID?
Good morning once again. I'm going to talk on sport. We were a very sporting community, which means we had all the sporting codes that you could think of, and we would do that at the high, to the standard of delivering one Olympian, which was Marcel Winkler. I think it was Professor Hartel's athlete, and she started at the primary school, which we thought at that time is in the worst area of Eersterust, which is called Nantes. And out of Nantes, this diamond came and ended up at the Olympics, and she was running the 100 meters at that time. Sport in Eersterust was always something good. Up to now, primary schools athletics is one of the top things in Eersterust. When we have a primary schools athletics championships, which is a friendly championship now between the amongst the 4 primary schools. The whole of Eersterust stands still. Everybody attends it, or most of the community will attend it now. I'd say most now, but in the past it would be the whole community would sit at that stadium. So, unfortunately, high school athletics didn't, compensate and do what they were doing in the past to deliver this athlete. So once high school athletics and sport died out in Eersterust. So let me take them one by one. Let's take the cricket, for instance, because I was physically there, part of the whole cricket program, starting with mini cricket. In fact, we started with dinky cricket. Before mini cricket was there, Dr. Basson came to us and asked us, can we do something like the West Indies are doing? And we played this, they were playing it on the sea sand, but we started it and playing it on Berea Park, It's also looking like it's part of Eersterust. Berea Park has been broken into and stolen all of the goods. The same thing happened in Eersterust. Our stadium is vandalized and everything. So we, part of the World Cup, Cricket World Cup, the first Cricket World Cup where Alan Donald made that gloves, we got this project of putting up this facility. And we were the only facility in the country that could put this up, that we had an indoor net practice session and everything. Unfortunately, this was vandalized to a very pathetic state as it is now. We also had housing facilities like 2 or 3 rooms where we could use as a hostel, and this is how we got Dale Steyn to come and play for us here. Dale Steyn played 2 matches and he was in the Northern's provincial team, and 1 match in the Northern provincial team, and he became a prospect for the Proteas. There's a video going around where he actually mentions all of this, that we actually stole him. This was part of our cricket program to go to Port Elizabeth, and we got Elviro Peterson there. He played for us, and it was not long ago he became the captain of the Proteas.
So, but we see a definite decline.
And from that, a definite decline.
And is there any specific reason if you could say this was maybe the reason? Like, it was going, we had Olympic athletes, we had, all these Proteas.
It is definitely the lack of adult supervision and coaching.
Okay.
So when we left, when all the teachers got promotion to, like Professor Hartl came to the university here, there was no more that kind of coaches that could do the same work or commitment to that.
I think that's a good
All
place
of
to
that.
really talk about social development as well. Because
Well,
there's definitely a gap then, it seems, for adult role models in the community with sport. Are you also doing this?
I'll talk on that as well. When it comes to social development, we've got a few facilities. We've got 2 old age homes.
Yeah.
We've got 2 old age homes. We've got a care center for children with mental and physical disabilities. And we've got Sandra's facility, which is taking care of people who are connected to HIV and AIDS. Then we've got Alicine's facility, which is taking care of people who have been abusing drugs or substances. They take care of them. And then we've got 2 facilities, which is Masada, where they now have a home for girls and boys now on the same premises, where they drying them up out of the drugs, so it's a rehabilitation center. We've also got Victory Outreach, but Victory Outreach has moved out of the community onto a plot, and then we've got the four primary schools and the 2 high schools with all their social problems that they have. If I can add.
Sorry, if you add one more thing, then I just want to quickly talk about about it in the environment and Sarah and the public health as well.
Yes, then we've got the clinics and the private doctors that are looking after us. So, in short, our social development is not taken, we're doing well in looking after all the social ills, but we don't have as much success rate. We were just talking in the car about how the success rate of these kinds of problems, and you cannot actually measure it with one plain ruler to say that this is wrong and that is wrong. So it's like any other community that you will have all these challenges, and individual people make individual decisions and they land up where they do land up.
Thanks. Eddie, I think you're close. Maybe you can just give us a short overview about the environment in Eersterust.
Just a short story before I go there. Every year we've got the ICE Athletic Club running in Eersterust, and one guy says to me that he was in a correctional service that he met one of his ex-colleagues and says to him, tell me what happened to Eersterust, because Eersterust then was a beautiful and neat place. What happened now? And he couldn't answer him. He says, no, I've got no answers. So just to show how Eersterust went from there to there. I think our biggest problem in Eersterust is education, because I grew up when it was strict, don't throw a paper on the floor, and then when I am an adult now, it says I'm not going to raise my child the way I was raised in the past. And that's where the mistake comes from. So our place is like, I wouldn't say worse than the heavenly place, but people's got an attitude of just dumping where they want, because I pay for refuge so they can come and pick up this thing. That is the biggest problem. So people just dump anywhere where they go. So coming from Silverton, coming to Eersterust, go and buy your Kentucky. When you come in Eersterust, after you finish in Kentucky, you throw it through the window in Eersterust, because Eersterust is a favorite place. My next question is, are we a dirty nation? And they couldn't answer me. They said, no, we are not. I said, you are, because you took the paper from Silverton, you throw it in Eersterust streets. So we are dirty. The households, you find that somebody's got, in his yard, he's got 4 or 5 shared dwellers, and he's got one rubbish bin. And when is the next guy that's hiding in this place going to dump his rubbish? He's going to dump across the road, because it's full, because the truck only comes once a week.
So dumping is by far the predominant environmental issue.
Dumping is the biggest problem. With the result, because dumping is the biggest problem, you've got the informal settlement. They stay next to the stream, the little river that you've got there. And the nearest place is dumping.
They don't have any services.
They don't have any services in total. Even the sewage goes into the little river and end up at the biggest dams and things like that.
So I think that's a very good place to talk about public health. So, dumping and sewage in the river. What would you say is, except for the things already mentioned, is the most important public health concerns in Eersterust?
I wrote here dumping, because health cannot flourish in a dirty place. And with saying that is that also the drug abusers, if you look at them, they are a risk for the people they are associating with. They don't have pride, they don't have cleanliness as a thought, and that causes that when they go to the clinic, the personnel, the staff chase them away because they're dirty. And people, if they come to people's homes to ask for food, they won't allow them in their yard or what. I stand with them at the gate and talk. But then I talk about their dirty hands. How can I give you? Then I normally say, go wash your hands first. There's a tap. Wash your hands and all that.
So the drug problem also results in homelessness?
Yes, a lot sleeping under the bridge and where they get a place to sit. They sometimes you find them at the cricket stadium. All
they
those.
Stay in the vandalized.
Yes. Also, we had a nice They used to call that the roller or the big marbles that the old people used to roll ball. We had a very nice, that was the best that I ever seen. And they broke that down and they sleeping there, but now they have some other facility there that we have for health. We have a lot of MPOs. We have, for instance, each that is the hospice. They are fairly good where they are situated, but also need to be secured for being prone to vandalization. At Circle of Life, we are 3 HIV MPOs that test. But we at Circle of Life, we work in the community. We're not going outside. Because I started a saying of, if my community, if I know my community is healthy, then only I can go outside to another community and go and help and get but I cannot do that because I don't even know how many people are HIV positive currently. I cannot give you an answer.
There's probably also a problem with, again, the drug abuse and I just got information that one of our people in Eersterust, not part of our group, died of full-blown AIDS and being on drugs all these years. So that is a scare. And with the informal settlement, it's getting worse. Because today we get that young girls, as young as 14, 15, living with elder men as being married. And that is my biggest problem. There's children that drop out of school, and I put this squarely in the laps of the parents, that drops out of school to stay with the elderly person in this informal settlement. Parents know where their children are, but they're scared to go fetch and do the right thing. Thank you very much. I think this is a good time to take some questions from you guys. I have a few things, but I think now it might be nice.
Education.
Angela, let's talk about you. Do you want to talk about education as well, sir?
Education, I'm just going to highlight some of the problems that we are experiencing in education. One of the first things is teenage pregnancies. Lots of girls drop out of school because they fall pregnant at a very, very early age. Some of them as young as 12 years old drop out of school. It's a sad state of affairs, but it is the truth. Another problem that we are experiencing is substance abuse. More and more young people are experimenting with drugs. And because of this, drugs, we know what drugs does. It breaks up families, it makes people to lose interest in most of the things they were good at first, and this impacts on the school situation as well. Another thing that impacts education is the high unemployment rate. Children it will impact in one way or another. Arnold has mentioned earlier on that lots of our young boys are exiting the school system to try and make a living from the tuk-tuk industry in our community. They see it as a way out to alleviate poverty at home. Poverty naturally is a problem also, not only in Eersterust. Then as far as problems goes, there's a total absence of accessible after-school activities in our community. There's really a big lack in that. A lack of school-based psychological support, lack of parental involvement. Sport and everything overlaps, but
where you can really pick up if parents are involved is when there's sporting activities at schools. And with us, it is a problem. They shine in their absence. Then our parents are not involved. So that, as far as I'm concerned, is a big problem. In our schools, we find deteriorating and outdated infrastructure. There's no laboratories. If there is laboratories, it's vandalized. Windows are broken, and the list goes on. Then I'll just end off with our ECD facilities. We do have ECD, early childhood development facilities, but unfortunately most of them are not registered and others are partially registered, which is a problem. They can't get the necessary funding from the Department of Social Development, and it's just uncontrolled. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I think this is a very good overview. I think you guys need to also see that all these things are very interconnected, right? So drug abuse came up in transport, it came up in schools, it came up in sport, public health came up in environment. So I want you to also think about this when you design your projects. If you don't take the complexity of the real world into account, you will not design solutions that's appropriately fit. So let's take some questions from the yes, this one.
So my question is regarding education. Do the teachers at the school, so you mentioned about the absence of psychology. Okay, so I can just speak up. So my question is regarding the educational, and you said there's an absence of psychological and no parental involvement. So my question is, do the teachers at the school have any psychological knowledge? Because if you have a teacher's or an educational degree, it's a requirement of studying psychology. Like my sister is a teacher and she has some prior knowledge of psychological involvement of like some modules that have like some psychology. So if there are teachers that have a sense of psychology, they could help the children in that aspect to develop in that moment or to support them in that need that they might face. And then do you hire teachers locally or do you go outside the bounds of Eersterust?
Okay, maybe just to come in with your first question about psychological support. I'm not quite sure where you guys are going to end up, but being a teacher, you're so overloaded with work that there's hardly any time or space to do that. On top of that, you will find that psychological access, so to speak, is available, but then you have to go to the district offices. Take learners to district offices, which is a big, big problem. You know, in townships, our schools hasn't got transport and so on. So, you know, the problem just becomes worse. The psychologists might come around once a month, sometimes even once a term, to address problems that are experienced at the school level. So it is a bit of a problem. If we could have had a psychologist at the school, we could have helped, but that's a luxury that we can't afford, and the department can't do that for us. Your second question was?
My second question is, do you hire teachers locally from Eersterust or do you go outside to other communities?
The department appoints. So if we do appoint at schools, then it will be in what is called SGB posts that the school provides for. And then on top of it, schools hasn't got the money in most cases to appoint extra teachers, like in your former Model C schools and the like. Money is a big problem. What we are experiencing now in our community is, if you just take Afrikaans as a language, it's a bit of politics, you know, but bear with me because, you know, we are basically an Afrikaans-speaking community. And our learners are now being taught by teachers that can't handle the language. And with the result that they have to revert to English only. We were speaking on our way here about it, and it's a problem. If you're not English speaking, you can't express yourself. You can't learn. So that's another problem.
So, and I have a quick follow-up question regarding that. Has there been any success or failures or solutions to the current issues that the schools are facing?
Solutions for
Can we maybe stop before we talk about solutions? Is it okay? I think there will be time to talk about solutions. I just don't want to jump the gun too quickly with going to solutions.
Okay, what's up? Let me come in here
Let me
quickly.
Is there a non-education question? Because I think we're going to run out of time to ask about everything. The girls in the middle was up first. Is
So
it
this
non-education?
Excuse me, can I just say something there? With regard to the schools, education, employment, one thing that we see as a colored Afrikaans community, even we're speaking at the civic about the churches as well, is that we as a colored Afrikaans community, we don't get employed. And we just get sidelined. For instance, there are 3 primary schools. One was one of the best primary schools. 4. There's 4 primary schools. One was one of the best primary schools. There's no colored principal. The department keeps appointing only black principals. Teachers that's supposed to teach Afrikaans as English. The police station, you can count the amount of police officers there.
So local employment.
The local employment, which is what frustrates us at school. My son has got a degree, he can't get a job. There's so many other children that have degrees, that have studied, that can't get employment. Across the board. Across the board. The amount of, so employment, us the colored people being employed, that's where the frustration comes in. Alright, that's where, yeah.
Okay, let's ask a question, transport question. I think I'm
So I want to ask the transport team. So I want to know what type of criminal activities do the kids take in?
Sorry, I didn't get what career activities?
What type of criminal activities do they partake in using the transport?
Criminal activities.
Criminal, sorry, I have career. So
Selling
criminal
drugs.
activities that's dominant in the transport?
So they will pick you up at a wherever. The tuk-tuk. So you already see if there's 2 people in the tuk-tuk. Aren't you where you're going, And then en route to that, they will then either put a knife to your throat, and then they'll take your belongings. Another thing that they do is they do a smash and grab, whereby they see you walking with your phone. They might drop off the one guy, and he would come and he'll just grab your things and run. Yeah. Some of them are used for getaway vehicles in robberies, the tuk-tuks. In getaway vehicles for hijacking, or we've got this phenomenon currently now with the Ubers being hijacked. What happens is these people create accounts. It will be a lady that calls an Uber to come into Eersterust, and then she will then tell him, no, I just need to pick up this person and this person, and then they will then basically hijack him. So again, this comes back to, we are forfeiting in Eersterust our youth. Majority, Angelo can help me, is busy forfeiting their education for quick money, which they believe that when they made that decision that I'm going to take care of my family with the money that I make, the tuk-tuk has to give, the driver has to give the owner of the tuk-tuk between 250 and 300 rand a day, daily. So he comes to the tuk-tuk owner after asking his peers, tell me that guy, tell the owner, I want to come drive, No man who's going to call you is going to call you. Eventually, the owner buys a new tuk-tuk and he tells him to tell me to come. When I get to him, he tells me, can I drive tuk-tuk? Yes, because my friend has been teaching me how to drive tuk-tuk. So then I demonstrate. He tells him, you know what? Listen to me carefully. I want 300 Rand daily. If you can't deliver 300 Rand to me daily, I'm going to get somebody else. Immediately puts that boy at a crossroads, you know? What do I do? If I'm going to drive from 2 o'clock till 5 o'clock or so, whenever the time, I'm not going to make it. So I need to quit school. I need to quit school.
And it's 15 Rand per trip.
15 Rand.
1.5
per trip. So I need to then
do at least 20 trips. Then I pay him.
And I pay him.
Anything extra.
So this is now what happens. Mom and dad are struggling at home, or grandmother is struggling at home. They used to buy children clothes, roll-on, and whatnot. Okay, so you're leaving school now. You're no longer going to provide those things for you. Okay? After 6 months, if you look at his physical appearance from when he was in school and when he's driving tuk-tuk, there's a big difference. You know what is for me the worst slap in the face in Eersterust right now is there's a student race for, I think it's for TUT in Eersterust, Robin Villas, right? Majority of those kids that goes to TUT got bursaries and scholarships, right? So in as far as accommodation is there, right? It's paid for. They can go stay there. They tell those kids, you see opposite yourself, opposite you there's the flats in Eersterust. You don't go there. You never go there. There is Pick and Pay across, there's even a liquor store, there's a pep stores and whatever there. Go and buy your things that you need, come back in there. In there they've got Wi-Fi facilities, they've got sporting facilities, you know. But the worst part for me is that those kids went to school with our kids. They come from Amalodi or outside suburbs, maybe Eastern Cape, Durban, wherever. They came to study here, right? But they realize one thing, that I need to educate myself. They don't skip school. They don't bunk. They are being also, you know, bullied and whatnot. Oh, you were nerd, you were this, you were that. Come with us. No, I'm not going to go with you, right? They go to school. What happens when that boy gets his scholarship or he goes to study? He then eventually would become the person that interviews this guy who made the choice to drive tuk-tuk. If he's got enough on his CV even to qualify to be interviewed by him, but because a lot of them only has, I drove for Arnold, I drove for Angelo, I drove for him, those are my bosses, these are the contact details. But the worst part for me is if you look at those kids' physical appearance, a 20-year-old, 19-year-old boy, staying in Robert Villa, compared to 18, 19, 20-year-old Eersterust child, there is a big difference because our kids from a young age are being exposed to drugs as the norm, alcohol abuse and everything that goes about it. So currently we've got in Eersterust a thriving drug economy.
Okay, I think let's maybe just go on with the question. So as I understand, basically also there's a lot of pressure on the tuk-tuk drivers and they diversify often to illegal ways to make up that pressure. Do you still have the mic? No, so I think it's the mics. And now I know I'm on track. So let's see, is there a non-transport, non-education question? I'm not sure now.
Over here.
It's been said over here. Sorry, and right answer, excuse me.
Hello. Hello. My question specifically is with regards to culture and perception. There seems to be a lot of fear within the community. And you mentioned that, for example, even the parents are aware that is what's happening to their children, but they're unable to do anything about it. Is the community firstly also aware and involved with these issues, and how are they involved in aiding or trying to alleviate some of these issues? And if they're not, what are some of the things that are preventing them from actually helping or trying their best to help to reduce some of these issues instead of just making it worse and worse?
I think you can decide your answers, but let's stick to the current solutions and just focus on what prevents, if I can edit your question a little bit, what prevents parents from really getting involved, right? And helping to actively solve these problems. Whoever wants to take that one.
I think that would be a social development problem. Your question is not just specific to Eersterust. I think all communities are suffering under that same challenge, that when children are not disciplined, self-disciplined, because all parents want to teach them the best of values, but our children just don't listen, and then they go their own way. Those who listen sit here at Turkeys in this class and they're learning. But the others who don't will end up wherever they want to end up, and it's their own personal choice that they're making, unfortunately at a very young age, where they make these decisions. When it comes to the parents, parents always want the best for their children. So they go to an extent to get some help for the learners. And if you go and sit and chat with each and every parent that has a child that's addicted to substance abuse, you will find the story of how many places they went to go and just to go and look for help. And I've got a personal story in that, and fortunately it worked out positive for me, because my child was 16 years on drugs, and the worst of drugs, doing the worst of things. And the only thing that could help him there was to love him and give him love. That was what helped him. He had to make up his mind by himself. He was in 4, 5, 6 institutions where they helped him, and came out, was clean, and then went back to these things again. So the fact that he had a support structure to help him, I think that, but you need to stay on your knees all the time, because I just spoke to, I was seeing people that were clean for 6 or 8 or 10 years still fall back into this same challenge. So your question is a challenge that's, I think, in the whole world.
Thanks, that's very good. I think we just have a lot of questions now. I want to get to all of them. So let's, what we may do is let's take 3 or 4 questions.
At once.
At once. And then we, if we can keep it short, then we can more answer the questions in.
Anthony,
Yes.
maybe if they can indicate what theme the question is linked to, it will help us to.
Can I also offer some
Yes.
sort of, okay, so as we ask questions now, I think we'll probably just organize them, but feel free, you can ask whatever, but if I were you, I would try drill deeper into any topic, the problem you've heard. So tell me more about the problem, or where does it come from, where's the cause, or who else is affected. Remember, we spoke about systems thinking, so the actors who are involved, other people affected, cause and effect relationships. Maybe a little bit later, we can then study the interlinkages, or try and understand that maybe drug abuse and crime have the same root cause, just to help you think of questions.
Thank you, Anthea. Before you ask your question, also just say what theme are you referring to? Then we're going to know how to structure.
Okay, I'll start here. There are many questions.
Good morning, everyone. My question for my team is social development. I wanted to ask, what per se are the problems that you face within the facilities that you mentioned, as well as the centers that you mentioned? Is it overcrowding at those facilities and centers, or are you struggling to get people to help, or are you struggling with funding, or are you struggling? I didn't per se get what is the actual problem in these facilities and centers.
Before you answer, let's take 2 more questions. So there was social development. What are the core problems of these facilities?
My question is environmental theme. I just want to ask. I just want to ask. Is there any methods rather than the government getting like trucks to come get the dumping the rubbish and stuff? Are there any other methods that are employed to manage the pollution, the dumping, and this wet gas contamination?
social development for issues in the facility. Is there any other methods to facilitate dumping?
In the health department, clinics lack the capacity to handle complex cases is because of lack of nurses or them understanding the cases.
Okay, so is it lack of knowledge to do complex health cases or staff dumping? Okay. Yeah, let's take those 3 questions first.
Yes, your question was that I think we can handle all kinds of challenges when it comes to that. There are the people who can support you, but it is the person that has the challenge that needs to come up with positive solutions. Other than that, you're not going to be helped. When it comes to government supports all organizations. All of them can apply and they will get help. There are certain criteria that you need to follow. If you have all the criteria that's necessary, you will get funding. The old age homes has funding, each has funding, the clinic has funding, all of it. Now it's a question of managing that funding in such a way that you can be successful.
The health question, you want to know if it is the staff or a shortage of staff or knowledge or whatever. But what my taking is, because our health system and our staff and specialist care that they give is overworked in most cases. We have a shortage of staff maybe at the clinics, and also remember when they see people they discriminate against, and the health profession is no longer a passion for people to work. It's the same with the teachers. Like in our days, it was a passion to be a teacher or a nurse or a policeman. But these days, people are overworked and underpaid, and we acknowledge that. But you still have to have that compassion for those people, even if they are dirty. And I have lots of gremlins to tell about how health facilities treat people, because I was in that situation with my own sister. Thank you.
Any other environmental question? More? So, is there anything else than just big compacted drugs coming in? Any other initiatives?
I think I'll start by saying, ask not what a community can do for you, but what you can do for the community. These guys know that one of the things that I really promote is education, education, education. We need to educate our people all over about the environment. Whether the government is there to come and remove the rubbish, but we need to be educated how to do these things. We embarked on several things in cleaning. We go and we put groups together, we start cleaning, and after we clean, the next day, the rubbish is dumped there again. So the education thing needs to come in and educate people all over, even if we take 1 year to educate them, and then bring in the bylaws to be strict on these people, to give them immediate, I wouldn't even say fine, sentences immediate so that they should learn. Because our people just say to yourself, why should I clean up? Because we pay our tax, written taxes. So education is a bigger problem.
So there is ad hoc cleaning initiatives.
There is ad hoc cleaning issues.
But it's not, it doesn't have a lot.
Yeah, because that same person that dumped is going to dump again tomorrow because it's not clean.
Yeah.
So remember, we've got the Ward 43 Community Development Precinct the Cup. So we've got authorization to go into parks, put in plants, gym equipment, playground equipment, even through SANBI, South African National Biodiversity Institute. We've got links with the nature conservation from the city, parks department from the city. So we've got the agreement with the city that we can do beautification, we can plant roses, we can make our parks aesthetically very beautiful. I just wanted to add that also.
Okay, that's important to know. So now we have a few more questions there. Let's go to the back. Sorry, I didn't see you yet. Maybe there are other questions in your class. And we can ask a few at the back.
Everyone. So my question is in regards to sports, arts, and culture. I just wanted to understand in regards to the facilities, are they built beyond repair? Like is it something that cannot be fixed? As well as were they initially built or vandalized due to the fact that they are supervised by the government, or is it under an organization of some sort? Just wanted to please account for that.
Thanks. While the mic is going to the back, the question is basically, are they vandalized beyond repair, and who were overseeing them, right? Was it that they were vandalized or that? So very shortly, I think maybe either Angela or yeah.
Sport. You're talking about sport, yeah. Okay, yes, they are badly vandalized, but it can be repaired. The problem is funding. And the facility was put up by the cricket club itself, and the cricket club hasn't got enough funding to repair.
So what's the cricket club? Is that NGO?
No, it's a club, it's not an NPO.
Yeah, but like what? I mean, you have members
Like
paying
a soccer
members,
club, like a rugby club.
and they get their money from paying members or tournaments?
They get their money from the members, and they're also linked to Northern's Cricket Union. That's where they get funding from. But the funding there would be for transporting the cricket teams to matches.
Okay.
So that's where.
Can I just add to that?
Sorry.
Yeah, so basically, the facilities are unattractive to our kids to become, enthusiastic about I want to go play cricket. Mr. Lates coached me cricket. I played cricket under him from mini cricket. In schools, he was actually the guy who got me in school and said, I don't want to come play cricket, and I did, and that was one of the best decisions I made. But I couldn't wait to get to the stadium. After the school ended during the day, I think we were about 2 kilometers maybe from the cricket stadium. It took me literally 15 minutes to get there because of the excitement that I had. I'm going to go play cricket. Our kids don't have that anymore. So there's a link between the facility being attractive enough to then the program, linking the club with the schools. So that is basically the challenge. There's not just cricket, it's cricket, rugby, soccer, and all that.
And you walk there?
I walk there. It's walking distance from all the schools, yeah.
Good day to the panel. My question is in relation to the substance abuse issue. What would you say leads to people starting to use drugs in the community?
Yeah, I just wanted to say maybe if the prisoners will
Okay.
answer.
Yes, good morning. I'm from Sanka. Thank you for that question. I think it's a very complex problem. Drug abuse it's not just, I always say, every person that uses drugs has its own reason for using drugs. But it's very complex. It can be because of something traumatic that happened in their lives. It can be, sometimes it's due to the family situation. But all in all, I think, we have a hopelessness amongst our youth. And it's just as if the children they don't see a future for themselves anymore. They don't set goals for themselves anymore, So it's like, I just need to enjoy my life. I want to belong somewhere. If your family does not give that belonging and sense of security, you go and find it with friends that use drugs. So I can talk an hour about it. It's so complex. But I think in most of it, it's really the fact of there's a failure of family norms and values. Families don't provide the structure anymore or the love and security to our children, and then we come to unemployment, and boredom is a big thing. Children don't keep themselves busy anymore. So yes, it's really there's so many reasons why people use drugs.
And then I have a question with regards to the environmental issue with dumping. Are there bins around the community, being there, or has there been before but they've been stolen or something?
We have bins. In fact, we had skips, but what happened is people would throw his thing next to the skip. The bins were vandalized. It was taken to be sold for ferrous and non-ferrous goods. And the other thing is we've got entities in the outskirts of Eersterust who basically buy in ferrous and non-ferrous metals. So you will find the guys who will vandalize. He will take the copper out of the cables in the light. And they will then burn it and go sell it to them. There's just another thing that I wanted to add about the drug question. If you ask yourself, what age were you when you can recall when you heard about drugs? On average. How old were you?
10.
You were in high school maybe? High school, yeah. 14. So our kids are exposed to drugs from when they can speak even. So that long in terms of knowing about it, eventually it's going to, we're going to try it out. I know she was asking a question. I didn't.
So I'd like to ask a systems question that might serve multiple groups of students. I'd like to know, because I've heard you talk about kids at home with a grandmother, I've heard about parents' responsibility. What is the family fabric in Eersterust like? What are families like? And what are their values?
Okay, that is a big question because it varies. Circle of Life does campaigns, door-to-door campaigns, to go and see what is happening in the homes. Where are the grannies and whatever? Sometimes we find it's only a granny lying there with nobody helping. We do find that these days, we went door to door in Highlands Park. All those homes have a granny in, looking after her grandchildren. Most of the kids, the elder kids, the adult kids are on drugs.
And where are the parents?
The parents are on drugs.
But where they, so if you find the
They in the street. They either roam around in the street, sleep under the bridge or wherever. They never come home. If they get a fix, they stay weeks on end from home. And the grandmother and grandfather, if there's a grandfather, sometimes it's only the and the grandmother is also sickly, or both of them are sickly. And they on pension. SASA pension.
So the drugs didn't affect that generation of grandparents? It starts?
No.
Oh.
It's from the children.
Just to understand. There's a question here, sorry.
Good morning. I just want to ask, in terms of the community safety, at what time of the day have you realized the highest crime rate in the community?
So what time of the day is crime the highest? Is there
That thing happened early hours in the morning and late at night. Because there's no light, and that's where they start robbing the people when they are on their way to work.
Thanks, nice to the point. Yes, is there
Hello? Okay. I just wanted to ask, because it seems like many of these issues are very generational, like it's being passed down from generation to generation, more so from the parents. So would you say that a lack of knowledge and people having these attitudes to use drugs or not understanding teen pregnancy, even down to the issue of dumping where they would just dump their stuff, would you say that the main problem with that is just that they have a lack of knowledge on the consequences, and this is what causes them to live in a community that makes them feel hopeless?
I think that's a brilliant question. You know, if we really are honest about where we are as a community today, we need to look at the past. We've been now 30 years plus in a democracy. Eersterust was founded or established, I think, in 1962. If we look at the apartheid laws in that time, the Segregation Act of 1958, which basically took people, colored people, from surrounding areas. They built, I think, 200 homes. I think it was Highlands Park, in Highlands Park. So if you think about the dynamic for a bit and you apply your mind, in the olden days we had big families. You will find on average between 5 and 8 children in the home within the parents. So let's say a family of 10 gets taken from a place in Mainland, in Mainland, right? They get taken and removed and put into a place with a 2-room bedroom house, right? With eight kids in the house, family of 10. What then happened is these people then built back rooms to accommodate their family. The kids then eventually grew up, left home. What does the parents do? They then put tenants into the place. Yeah, it doesn't matter where. But so remember, if you stay in somebody else's yard, right? You've got your own set of values. Maybe you're Christian or whatever. You want to raise your kids with a certain value set or standard, right? But in my yard, I listen to loud music. I kick my wife under the table every 2 days. Your kids then are exposed to that, right? So then that culture grew in Eersterust. Eersterust then gradually developed to a bigger place, whereby people got the idea of having a back room in the yard for a extra passive type of income. They then put a lot of rooms in there with a lot of different families, with a lot of different dynamics in there, right? So fast track where we are at now. Drugs came into Eersterust. In fact, Eersterust teachers was the teachers who basically educated a lot of people in Transvaal then. We had export of teachers in Eldorado Park, Reiger Park, and those colored areas, right? Whereby Eersterust at some point was the model colored area, I think personally, in the whole of the country, in South Africa. It was a clean place. I remember growing up as a young kid, my mother had a red stoop in front of our yard. I had to polish that stoop and bone it, and then I would look, are there any girls coming? So you know, we had that pride in our community, but systemically, systematically, the word says that my people perish through a lack of knowledge. So we've been basically sidelined out of a lot of things. You know, the IDP input. We only now know what we as a community can do to give input into the IDP, so that maybe we can also get some of the things that we are paying for back. So remember, we are paying tax and rates. We're not getting proportional services to that. So that leads to a lot of frustration. But to answer your question, you know, a lot of not knowing what you can do in certain situations, a lot of a lack of knowledge, basically, coupled with a drug addiction, the socio-economic, you know, situation, whereby our kids are exposed to certain things from an early age. When they come to being a teenager, they've already experienced a lot of these ills in society.
Thank you. That touches on many questions probably. There's another question? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I don't know if you can hear me. So I have 3 questions that I want to ask, and it kind of relates to both the social, like, youth aspect and also a little bit of the health aspect. So my first question is, in terms of you saying that lots of the time it results in like teen pregnancies and that sort of thing, and also with like people dropping out of school and then family structures, that sort of aspect. Is there any kind of like family planning in place? Is there sex education in schools? Like, why are these teen pregnancies so prevalent in the community?
yes, all of that does happen. We've got the nurses going around to the schools, educating the learners from primary school onwards. We've had the police going into the schools, giving them lectures on safety and everything. So yes, all of that happens, but I don't know where it goes wrong, because people just don't listen to all the advice that's been given to them.
My next question is about the youth and like social development. So you talk about how after school there's like no school activities, there's no sports that the children do. Why aren't there after school activities? Like, what do the kids do after school? Where do they go?
Unfortunately, the kids don't do a lot of sporting activities. I know the cricket club is still going on. There's still some cricket activities going on, but the tennis is completely died out. We've got a very good squash facility. The swimming pool is there. There's no teacher teaching them, or there's no swimming club. We had at one stage a life-saving club, of which some of our learners became national champions in the life-saving club. I know this one learner that became a national champion also fell prey to drugs and now is out of the program. So all the things are there. It's people not using it to the highest so that they can become the best in the country.
Can you say why though?
Yeah, maybe Angela, I don't know.
I think the reason why is it's a personal thing, because this young man had all the necessary support to be there. His father took him everywhere with his own car, with his own money and everything. But he just decided, I'm taking out and using drugs and everything.
And then, sorry, my last question. Are there any youth development programs currently in place? So like after school, is there anywhere that children can go, they can learn new skills, like different kinds of trades? If they drop out at grade 9, like you said earlier, is there a place where they can go, they can learn how to sew and become seamstresses or like that sort of thing?
Okay, I just want to add something briefly on your question on what happens, why isn't there these after-school activities. And just one thing, you know, the kind of teacher that we have nowadays, someone has made mention, you know, seriously, it's not being seen, you know, as this calling, you know. Teachers in our communities, when it's 2 o'clock, 2:30, they just leave. As far as they're concerned, they've done their bit and that's that. And I think that is one of the problems that we're experiencing. Not only in Eersterust, I think in most of our black communities, this is what is happening. You know, teachers are just being overburdened and they just feel after 2 o'clock, I'm going home. I'm going to...
So there is a little bit of a lack of after school activities. And those that are there are not very well attended. Sorry.
Okay, to answer your question on the youth, leadership is also a problem within the Eersterust region, whereby these were our leaders when we grew up, right? They were active. Currently, youth that's supposed to be leaders is either in jail, caught up in gangsterism, peer pressure, and is unemployed. So it leads to different route for the youngsters. As Arnold mentioned, when the Reds used to give us, he used to put in his effort every year to make sure that there is cricket tournaments, soccer tournaments taking place. Now, the leaders that was supposed to teach the new generation now is either in jail or they are dead, or they are part of a gang whereby they will be in prison. They would sell drugs. They would even rob the tuk-tuks. The tuk-tuks is robbing people, but there are gangsterism that's taking place in peer pressure whereby they know the tuk-tuks have money. They would then go out to rob those kids. What's happening? It's a chain effect. Okay, Arnold was robbing me yesterday, so my cousin is coming back for Arnold. And it cycles. So one of our main challenges currently, especially for the youth, is unemployment. We are in an industrial zone whereby 0.5% of Eersterust people are employed to those manufacturing companies. I can count on my fingers. APSA head office is right across Eersterust, but there is 15 people, young people of Eersterust working for APSA. The same goes to Ford, to Tazes. There's various programs, even Albany. Those people do not employ Eersterust people because there's a perception of they are lazy, they don't want to work, they are disrespectful. But there's really children and young youth that seek for opportunity, that's reaching out to leaders. So
we have another question here, but I think we just got to a little bit of the core of the problem, because there's clearly what comes out of your answers a generational gap. That in the last, let's say, 20 years, few of the key leadership positions or mentorship positions or maintenance positions were not filled. This is now causing a lot of hopelessness, and it could even be due to the unintended consequences of government intervention to try and help previously disadvantaged communities, that they are sidelining many of Eersterust's communities for employment, and that creates hopelessness and escapism towards drugs, criminal activity, gangs. Yes?
I have a question on both transport and just a question in general. So have the committee, or is there an outreach from local companies to the committee so the committee can assign, is there a task team that can assign valuable people, or not valuable people, productive people to local companies for labor? Does the local companies have interest in that? Or I just want to get a bit deeper. And is there, another question, is there a transport or a construction company in the town or locally in Eersterust?
Sorry, when you lost me, is there transport?
Yes, so is there transport or construction company in locally in Eersterust?
So transport, construction, industry. And then we have, I think, is there two more questions? Oh no.
Both privileging new people.
Yes.
Yeah,
Let me just see how many we still have left.
Hands up.
It's up for a while also.
Okay.
So I think let's take some new questions, sorry. Over here and over here, you've been up since the beginning and at the back. Basically, we have time. There will also be a chance for Q&A online. Where we, again, I'm going to speak to them online. I think in 2 weeks, I don't remember the program, but in a few weeks we have another opportunity. So just remember that question. Where's the other one now? Yeah, let's ask the question.
So I have two questions with regards to social development, specifically unemployment. So what kind of job skills do you think are most needed in Eersterust? And what type of businesses do you think could thrive to create these job opportunities?
Last question, what? So what job skills are most needed and
the types of businesses or industries that could thrive to create these job opportunities.
Okay, lead to the job opportunities. Yes, your question, sorry, I know your answer up in the beginning.
I just wanted to ask, regarding the youth and the drug abuse, is how do they get access to all of these drugs and how do they become addicted to them? Because where does that come from?
Okay, maybe as you also want to chip in on that question, can we take one more and then, unfortunately, I think that should be the last question today. When we're going to, I'm quickly going to wrap up all the themes because I see you're all not focusing anymore already. Is there one more question? I'm really sorry if we didn't get time for a question. You could, if you have time, also ask them, right? You're still here. Or you can do the Q&A session in a few weeks. So let's just last question.
Good morning. This whole conversation is going around problems, like dumping is a problem, drugs is a problem. What can Eersterust add to companies so that companies can reinvest into Eersterust? Because now we're only coming with problems, but I don't see the value coming back to your company. So if you can give us opportunity or gap that we can.
It's also your job, right?
Like, we don't know a lot about yesterday. All we know about now is the problem.
Yes. I think that's a big place to start. So that's the idea, is that we get a very good understanding of problems. But if you want to maybe comment on the value of having a business within Eersterust, but that's what I want to throw back to you guys. Because at the end of this term, I want you to tell me, how can these problems be translated into profitable?
So we're on a journey that starts with problem identification, and then solution ideation, and then modeling and prototyping of the idea. We're not going to build a prototype. So with the Q&As that will follow, there will be 2. So the next one in a couple of weeks' time, I also can't remember the schedule. It will be for you to go a little bit deeper and already maybe start sharing some ideas that come based on the design thinking canvas that I will present in class. So that will be after that class.
So maybe we keep that question for the very last Q&A.
And then the second one will be when you've come up with a possible solution, and now you ask the specific person that whose portfolio it is, say, okay, what do you think? Any problems with this idea? How could this work out? And so on. So then you'll join a specific room online with the specific person that hits that problem to drill deeper, to understand better, to then share ideas and back and forth. Yeah.
Okay, so let's quickly, let's start over here.
Ek kan nog praat?
I think we're running a little out of time, so let's keep the questions left for the, you want to ask the last question? Okay. Let's take them and then you can take the mic again.
Good morning. I just wanted to ask regarding the youth, could it be that there's maybe like a lack of role models causing the kids to like lose motivation in themselves? They seem so much with their parents in the community that they just lose hope. Could that also lead to like looking at it in a broad aspect with the drug and no pride, no motivation to do anything, even dumping or just going to the tuk-tuk business? Could it be the lack of seeing their people in the community succeeding or even outside succeeding?
So a question about role models. The examples they get from their peers and parents and elders, leaders in the community.
So where do we start with the answering of these questions? Do we start at the beginning or?
Well, no, everybody doesn't have to answer anything. So if you have anything to add on any of these questions, answer very shortly and then we move around.
So while I refresh on that one, a lot of Eersterust kids don't get the opportunities to go outside of Eersterust and see what's going on outside of Eersterust. So there's a lack of positive exposure to positive things. You might find a kid is 10 years old, he's been to a place like Menlyn or whatever. 5 years down the line, that Menlyn has totally transformed and he's like, oh my goodness, where are we now? Type of thing. Let alone being exposed to facilities like the University of Pretoria where they can broaden their scope. I can be a doctor, I can be a lawyer, I can be this, I can be that. They idolize the drug dealer who's currently driving a Golf 6 or Golf 8R. You know? And those are the things. The guy wears nice cologne, he always has money, he's surrounded by pretty women, and those type of things. And he says, you know, I want to be this one I want to be. So there's a guy, an artist one day, back in the day, there's this interlude to be sung, where there's a class situation where they ask the kids, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And he's like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. And this guy says, I want to be a gangster. And that's exactly, you find our young kids in primary school, they are the real gangsters in Eersterust. They've got cliques with names,
and they go to assassinate each other for real, you know, in front of your mother, where they will hit their peers with hockey sticks and batons, and sometimes they've got firearms on them. So we need to expose our kids to what is possible outside, you know, to answer that question. We do have construction. There's a lot of businesses in Eersterust dealing with construction. That was the first part of your question. We are actively, as the Eersterust Community Development Forum, you know, these portfolios that we have basically touch every area or aspect of life in a community. We are a very different community. As though we are not connected, we are very connected in terms of comparing a Garsfontein where, you know, you just greet your neighbor, hi Sunny, and you go into your house, mind your business type of thing. But when it comes to the future of the kids in a Garsfontein or whatever, the grown-ups would put their differences aside and agree to putting cameras on, agree to not tolerating that our cameras are going to be stolen, agree to making provision for monitoring and those type of things. So those conversations are hard conversations in a community where there's no money, where bread and butter issues take prevalence on safety, on those things, because I can't expect you to pay money for a camera or whatever when you don't have food on your table. So I personally don't want to give you, sir, the solution in terms of your task in hand. That was a brief that we got in terms of, we just need to give you an overview or a highlight. But in Eersterust, we've got a high percentage of youth that are still able, if they get to a place where their lives can be redirected in terms of the course that they are now.
Is there any of the other, can we move down the line for the last pair of questions?
I just want to make it clear. Yes, there's a lot of social ills and we need our social development, social workers sits on the same premises as Circle of Life. And we work hand in hand with those dropout children, even in the primary schools. But the big but is still communication, because they don't know our community. They from other races, and we only have one colored social worker on that panel. The rest, they are about 20 of them. They don't understand our kids, they don't understand our parents, our culture, they don't understand. So I also put that as a big problem in our community for that
Can we
reason.
just get to the questions that we have? Yeah, let's just answer the last questions and then we wrap up.
To the question of what businesses we have in Eersterust, yes, our people like to eat, so there's a lot of catering, but it's not registered companies, most of them. It's people cooking from home and then selling their stuff. But we've got one major business selling food, and we have people from our neighboring communities coming there to buy food from there. We've got Ford, like you said, that has got all these internships, but they don't last because it's not enough money. And then we've got all the other companies that's surrounded there that can help us there.
Okay, the answers on the youth. Our kids is actually finishing the matric to go on learnerships, whereby they are supposed to sit here. That's the type of opportunities that they get. Internships, bursaries, it's actually a far-fetched, especially in Eersterust. So what we basically need is a shift of mind. To answer your questions, yes, there is organizations trying to help to establish new youth role models and also also help with the cleaning, also help with company business workshops, come and register business. The main problem is lack of discipline and peer pressure within the groups.
Can we just ask one more question? Angela, if you don't mind, regarding the...
There was a question regarding how does the drugs come in Eersterust. It's not just the Eersterust thing, it's South Africa. I mean, since our borders are open, drugs are just fluxing in. But I think what the problem is in Eersterust is, if you are caught selling drugs, like Arnold also said, the people selling drugs is the ones that prosper. They're making a lot of money. The police turns a blind eye. There's just, the police get bribes. So there's just if I'm caught with drugs, there's no punishment for me actually. And that is what our young people also see, that yes, you can make money out of selling drugs. I think people are sometimes afraid to go to the police to report it, to report the drug sellers. So, and I just feel that in South Africa as a whole, we need to take a zero tolerance regarding drug use. Because now drugs are freely available and they target our young children, because the quicker I can get you addicted, the quicker you can start working for me. And I also just wanted to say as well, government, yes, they are assisting some of their organizations, but they've cut a lot of funding, and a lot of organizations are suffering, and they are undersourced, high caseloads, and government just, we understand, the money problem, although we feel there is money, but it's just not correctly. So yes, it's my, but yeah, the drugs is the problem regarding the police not stepping up.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Thank you to all students who were very engaged. Unfortunately, we don't, you already have the mic. That was a trick. Last question, and I'm going to wrap up. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Sorry, I went to speak to you guys.
No. Let's make a good one.
So my question is based on the funding or the system, like in general. I was actually speaking now about the lack of funding or government support. Firstly, I couldn't imagine how difficult it is for these problems and what you guys and how you guys allocate the funds in that to the specific areas like health and education and whatnot. But I wanted to ask, so in terms of that government allocation and funding, is there like a general routine consensus among you guys on what you would, like when you get that government funding, is there like some sort of a prioritization of a particular issue where that funding would go to? Could you just explain a little bit more of that government funding process?
Dominique, if you get a lot of money now, you as a group, where would you spend it first? Okay, that's a good question.
I don't know if I'm going to.
He's
under the impression what do we do with the money and how do we disperse it?
No, I know there's no government funding for you as groups, but he's kind of asking if there were, what would you have done with it? You understand the context very well.
Yes, so we're getting to a point where we're going to answer some of the questions that you need to work on. But, as a community development forum, right, we are in, like I said, we've got different stakeholders. So obviously there would be agreement in terms of, number one, for example, a programs and compliance policy, because we want to use the funds. If you look at our themes, it is basically the Tshwane Ward Committee themes. So every portfolio has got a government leg or department that basically deals with funding for that department, right? There has to be oversight in terms of who's going to disperse the funds. So what would initially happen is that we will have a program, for example. Over a period of time, there would be a body of evidence, right? Based on that body of evidence, there would be a fund holder, which will then be the Eersterust Community Development Forum, which will, with their stakeholders, will then decide together jointly, for example, in the health portfolio, this is what we're going to do. Remember, the funds that we get will be funds to do specific things. So there will be an overhead, obviously an overhead cost, there will be an operational cost as well, and amongst the stakeholders we will then identify who's going to do what, and those funds will then be dispersed in terms of that. remember that also we will then need to report back to the department to say that this is the money we got, this is what we use the money we got. We then have all the proof that we have from the stakeholders who participated in that. Another thing, and I think is that gentleman's question there, so then there's also then the corporate side, which is CSI, and I don't know if I'm getting into answering, giving them ideas and what they need to do. Maybe I should do that.
Yeah. Okay. Can I wrap up? If there's any important questions and you have time after this and they're not in too much of a rush, you can come and ask. Otherwise, we have our Q&A sessions. I just again want to say thank you so much for your time. You've been doing this out of the goodness of your heart, and we really appreciate that we can learn from you and understand Eersterust a little bit better. Just quickly, 2 sentences my takeaway from listening to all of this. We've got a lot of information. I think something that came out very strong, as I already mentioned, is the generational issue. That over time we see that some of the important leadership mentor gaps have not been filled. This is due to a few things mentioned, is that the lack of opportunities for locals, and that often jobs within Eersterust is filled by outside professionals who do not always understand the community, so there's a lack of services probably. And then also that combined with this idea that you can get a very profitable job or at least meaning for your life by engaging in criminal activities such as gangs and the drug economy, takes you away from this hopelessness. So this exacerbates the problem. The themes we're looking at again, just very quickly, is public health. So we've heard here a lot about people being overworked and therefore not giving the care they should, lacking motivation. Again, the drug economy has a major impact on public health as well as informal dumping, which I can also, just from my tour, very kind to take me around, you can also see it in the community. Social development, again, the drug issue came up, as well as the generational gap that I just mentioned. For transport, the very unique thing about Eersterust, which is very festive, is the tuk-tuks, but it becomes some of their own regulatory and social issues, especially for higher dropout rates. But we see it's a tough actually for the youth, because they're under a lot of pressure to then get at least 300 plus, and they don't make it, pushing them into very difficult conditions. Education and youth is what going on there. So thanks Angela also for giving us some pointers to teachers not interested. Absenteeism we heard about, especially in the afternoons. There are after-school activities that are either not attended or not very well done, like in school facilities. We heard about dumping of the environment, which was a major theme for the environment. And then there's the ones pristine sports facilities that not really, either not utilized or not maintained very well. And then lastly, I think the theme that runs through it all is the lack of safety and enforcement that really makes it difficult to do anything else. If you guys want to visit the community, we really wanted to take you to Eersterust, but it's an administrative nightmare to take students anywhere. Please don't just go. If you don't know where to go, what to do, it might be a problem. If you are interested on your own time, on your own expenses, to visit the community, talk to us first, so that we will connect you to the guys here and make sure that you not only see the right things, but you also safe. But that's entirely up to you, but just don't just go.
Okay, thanks again.